In this video, I am playing a Nova Sorc, and as you can tell, I start off as a charged boltress because, well, I need to start somewhere and Nova only unlocks at level 12. And here you can tell that players 8 ghosts are not a good way to farm experience because this fight is taking quite a bit of time. And I do go for Frost Nova and Nova together, so I use the Frost Nova to slow things down because Frost Nova, while very cool looking, and I got told many times last video that it's very viable for endgame, it sucks for solo self-found, so I'm only putting 1 point into it and I'm gonna use it to slow things down. Anyway, I farmed the counters one time, end up finding a Ral rune, and then I go for the Den of Evil because I hit level 12 and I get to respec my sorceress. So I go ahead and respec into this, so the 1 point into Frost Nova, lots of static, some regular Nova, and then I continue on with the farming where I find a Buckler, which is a Pelta Lunata. And that's awesome because that's a lot of mana and a lot of life. I end up finding an Ed rune from the counters and 3 Tal runes, which means my stealth is completed. I also find a cast ring, and all I'm looking for now is tier runes. You get to use the tier runes to make your mana situation better because Nova is very mana intensive. And after farming the counters until I really couldn't force myself to do it anymore, we go ahead and move along towards Duriel and Act 2. And you can see me just equipping my Shaco. And you can tell how fast the mana is running out. Like, I am slurping pots like I'm addicted to them. And it's still just rough. You can just go up the stairs to fight the Vipers. They can't walk upstairs, so you can very easily kill them there. We go ahead and kill Cold Worm the Burrower. And I found a Dew wand with +5 mana after each kill. So that makes my mana situation finally better. But it doesn't matter for Duriel because we have static, and static is the most broken ability in the game next to probably leap, but it's so good. You can just static things down, especially in normal, that you can go all the way to 1 HP and they die. I end up finding a +8 life, 28 lightning resist and a cold resist 30 ring in Act 3 normal, and that's just amazing for Mephisto. That's the actual best rings I could have found. I get the Git bin and move along towards the ruined temple where I kill everyone with Nova. I gamble some boots. Then I move along towards the Flayer dungeon, where I find this light belt, and that's insane. It's a tri-res light belt in normal. Move along towards the sewers and the council. And as you can tell, Nova is doing a lot of damage, but the council is just pretty tough, so. But Nova very well in normal. Here I fight the council on level 3, as I move towards Mephisto, who I static down, all the way down to 1 HP, and he dies before I even really start Novaing. Same for Isual over here, just static, Nova gone. Like normal with a sorceress is so free. In the Chaos Sanctuary, I go ahead and kill the Grand Vizier of Chaos, and I get this spawn in, which is insane. That's just not cool at all. Like, those were so close, and I finally find a tier rune. Makes me happy, but it's very late at this point. But I wanted to point out the first one I found in the end. That Lord the Size spawn can happen every once in a while. And yeah, it's really dangerous. Like the Diablo fight. So we static Diablo and now he's dead. After which we go and farm some Eldritch until we hit level 30, so I can get appointed to Lightning Mastery, which is just free 50% damage. I go ahead and save the bobs. I find this little smoked sphere here for some resistances. I managed to get a perfect amethyst, which gets me a craft, so I get a 19 FCR craft amulet. That gets me to the next breakpoint, so that's a massive damage increase, even though it doesn't look like it. And with that we head towards the Ancients, who well, you could have guessed it many times over at this point, but we staring them down. Maddock wearing some light resist, but it's okay, we can still very easily kill him. I buy a 3-socket shield so I can make the Ancient Pledge. This is what I saved the bobs for, but I forgot to do it. And then we head towards Baal, but the first thing in our way is the Minions of Destruction, and you can really tell the Frost Nova slowing them down a lot. Like, they are very dangerous. With the Frost Nova not up, they will catch up to me, so that's a massive difference. And then for Baal, it's yeah, it's 6 ladders and it's an ick. It's static. I mean, this isn't even sped up, it's like a 10-second fight. He drops a light belt, and this is a 48 life double res light belt, so that's amazing. I immediately equip that. When things are lightning enchanted, they have a lot of lightning resist, and lightning resist makes Nova very sad. I mean, it's not like I'm wearing thunder charms or anything, so. And that'll be a recurring problem for this build. You do need to spec into a second thing if you want to do solo self-farm with this. In Nightmare, we go ahead and farm the counters some more because we need some runes. We need Tal, Thul, Ord M and we need Ord Sol. So Ord Sol gets us a lore and Talthal Ord M together with a broadsword gets us a spirit. And after farming those we can move along towards the rest of Act 1 Nightmare, which brings us towards the Smith and Duriel. And at this point Static and Nova is still very much good enough to get through the game, but we are taking some hits here. After that we head towards Radamant. For the Book of Skill we get a new mercenary here. I go for a Holy Freeze mercenary because that gives me some slowdown while I'm novaing things. So in Act 2 we hit all the beetles in the maggot lair, and this time we can't do the Claw Viper stairs trick. Or we can just go down and telestomp him a bit. Same goes for the Arcane Sanctuary, where I find an Io rune before heading to Duriel, who I just end up facing. Like, a lot of playing a Nova Sorc is just standing there and knowing you won't die. Like, you've got to be very good at knowing when you can just stand there and spam Nova, because Nova very much requires you to be close up to the enemy. In Act 3, don't do this, because that is extremely dangerous. If that boss pack had been closer, I would have been very, very dead. I find a Fel rune in the Flayer jungle, and I also end up finding a 4-socket battle site, but I don't have a soul rune. I do get a rare ring from Ormus with double resist, so that's definitely good enough to finish the game with. And once again for the counters, just know how close you can get without dying. Go that close and spam Nova. One little trick you can do is just kill the curse one first, then grab a shrine so you lose the curse, and then run back in. And here we have our sorceress trapped in a corner surrounded by maulers. So this is the kind of situation you really want to avoid actually. And once again for level 3 we just teleport over. He frost novas, I frost nova, and then it's static time while the mercenary distracts him. But once he's low enough I'm just gonna go ahead and spam some nova until he goes down. It's just a matter of just daring to stand there. Then for Act 4 you can really start to tell that things have lightning resist here and that you need to start speccing into another thing, because that was really close. And souls are a problem. Like, they have lightning resist, I do not, so I end up just taking down Ishwal, but it was not safe at all. You can tell, like, even the normal burning souls take a while to go down, and this is just Nightmare, like things will get worse. Then for Hephaestus, just lure him back, make sure that you're not surrounded, because Might Aura hits really hard. And then again, static, Nova. That's a recurring theme in this one. Then for the Hellforge I get a shield rune, which isn't that exciting. I get a much better spawn in the Chaos Sanctuary for Lord Decize, which brings me to my Diablo fight where he's just smacking my face up. But I do just get the statics off and then start novaing again. But one thing that's becoming very, very clear at this point is that Nova is not a very good boss killer. I mean, this takes a while. But I do get there, so I make it towards Act 5 where I find a light plate and I can make a new stealth in that, and it's just an upgrade, like it's 60 defense more or something, but the most important part is that it looks way cooler. I end up teleporting into Pindleskin and almost dying immediately, but I continue farming him. I also find this amulet with double resist, but I continue farming him so I can get some levels, because my power level is pretty low at this point and I do have like hell to go through still. So for the ancients, as usual, just split them up and make sure you have one of them at a time so you can just static them. And be careful with the mods on the ancients. Things like might, fanaticism, extra strong are very dangerous. Cursed as well. The mercenary goes down, but I can just teleport around here. But if you're not sure of yourself and if you're not sure if you're able to do this, just reset. Like, it's so much easier to restart your ancients fight than to restart in the rogue encampment on level 1. So be careful, be wary. But it's definitely possible, especially if you've got some gear. Like, my gear is pretty okay-ish for End of Nightmare. Like, there's definitely things that could be improved in the sense of survivability. Like, I have 600 life, no defense. Resists are but I do take them down. Head towards the Throne of Destruction where things are lightning immune and soul. So I go ahead and leave the game. Second time in, I get a lightning enchanted, which is fine, and some tools before heading towards Akmel the Cursed, who is lightning enchanted. So I dodge those souls, go back in again, get souls again, leave and try again. Next attempt I get Akmel the Cursed not lightning enchanted, so that makes me very happy because now I can actually kill him. But you can tell that between the Frost Nova and the Holy Freeze things are getting very, very slow and safe. I focused on survivability a lot more on this sorceress, because I'm getting kinda ticked off at how many of my sorceresses have died at this point. Anyway, onto the Baal fight. Yeah, it's a source static fights, it's all of them are like that. Like, I can be like, wow, the fight is super interesting and this and that happens, but it's just I teleport in, I static them, I Nova a bit, and they die. That's the whole point of static. Like, static is so good that it makes the commentary hard to do. I end up finally finding my soul rune in a counter's run and make my insight, so now I actually have some mana, and with that I move along towards the Terror Zone. So I start off with a Terror Zone Mausoleum where I find a Vita charm, and that's very good. Like 19 life of a small charm is very powerful. I find a second 4-socket sword, so I go ahead and make another spirit for the reroll, and I get the 35% faster cast rate. I also get these boots with some fire resist and MF, and I make a rhyme as well, and with that I get the terrorized cow zone, the secret cow level. So I just go in and start killing some cows, because that is one thing this character can definitely do. Like, look at them going down. It's going so well that I decided to go for players 8, which may or may not have been a good idea depending on your risk tolerance, because these are a lot of fucking cows. So my mercenary instantly evaporates as I panic teleport around. And I have so much range on the static that it's actually luring more cows to me, which is a thing. I don't know if I'm really happy with it, but I mean, look at this. I just have a sea of cows after me, and at this point I'm just slurping pots, I'm just running around. I am not teleporting. Like, I will not teleport around in this. Like, it's not happening. That is instant death if I do that. That one ghostly bovine having a lot of lightning resist, also a big problem. Like, he's just following me around. And just look at how many cows I lured. I keep pulling more, and it's like, why? Please stop. Please just give me experience and items and piss off, please. But yeah, you can do this with the Nova Sorcerers, because they are capable of farming cows really well, as you can tell. Like, this is, don't get me wrong, this is insanely dangerous, and you should not do this way. Like, this is dumb, don't do it. But I am pulling through, and they are starting to die, and the experience is good. So as the sea of cows kind of ebbs and flows away, I end up taking them all down, and I find this set breastplate. Breastplate is the best plate after all. Just kidding, we all know it's Ice. Anyway, I end up finding a swirling crystal, and for memes it's +1 lightning mastery and perfect on everything else, so screw that item. It's worse than spirit anyway. So I also found a second 4-socket pole arm, and I upgrade my belt before going into hell. So now I have a shark skin belt with 48 life and some resist. I gamble a 24 resist all circlet, and with that we move along into hell, and you can tell the difference if things aren't lightning enchanted, because now they are actually dying. I also started speccing into Hydra because I need something. I find a hell rune as well, by the way, and I need to spec into something else than pure Nova. Like, Nova in hell, you will get through the main game, but there's so many lightning immunes that it's a problem. I end up finding a co rune as well, by the way, so now I have Hellcothal at fall, which will be relevant later, because obedience is really good, as Andariel pimp slaps my mercenary to Kingdom Come. But yeah, like, doing this fight with just pure Nova, with all the lightning immunes around and stuff, like, it's possible. I highly recommend not doing it though. Like, it's just annoying. Like, even him being fire enchanted as well is a big problem. So what I'm trying to do here is basically make the Hydra's target Andariel, because if Andariel dies, everything else dies as well. But they are just targeting all of the afflicted around us, and that one unique afflicted over there is lightning immune fire enchanted, and that basically means he's practically immortal to me. So I mean, look at how little damage I'm doing to him. So yeah, I really need the Hydras to target Andariel here, but they are just not going for it. I mean, why would you target a demon from hell when you can target a random ass monster 900,576, you know? So yeah, just guiding them around, making sure the Hydras do stuff. And Andariel goes down, and I end up finding heavy gloves, and you're thinking to yourself, is this normal? No, it's hell, and it's level 71, and we are upgrading to Bloodfist. Our gear is not great, let's put it that way. And in the Maggot Lair, we are once again using the Hydras to make a way through the small areas here. And as you can tell, the scarabs are going down, but it's taking forever. And I'm being very smart here and using the Hydras, taking my time, making sure that everything is safe. But then the worst thing happens. I get bored of this and I decide to teleport. And teleporting around with a Nova Sorc in here is not great. So I get stuck here and I just immediately leave the game. Like, I wasn't even in that much danger, but I just panic exit there. So a second time I decided to take my time and get the stuff. Then we head towards the Claw Viper Temple again, where we are greeted by a bunch of Claw Vipers. And this is very dangerous as well. They're amplified damage cursed, so once they hit me I will be dead. So let's make sure that doesn't happen. For level 3, Fangskin once again shows up. He almost kills my mercenary. I go ahead and Nova some stuff and go up the stairs again and make the Hydras do the work. After which I go and teleport throughout the Arcane Sanctuary, and that's a choice I made. So the Arcane Sanctuary and the Countess are actually the two best ways to farm with this character. Like, this is an excellent key runner. Like, it does well into Nilatak, it does well into the Summoner. I also find the Nego Ring, by the way. It does well into the Countess, the Summoner, Nilatak. It does well into cows. It does not do well into act bosses, as you can tell. Like, this duriel fight once again just taking forever, and I end up just once again kiting around, just luring him everywhere, making sure the Hydras do the work. But at least in this case there's no like afflicted with fire enchanted or anything around, so at least everything's targeting duriel. But I can't just stand there and tank him, that's way too dangerous. So yeah, it takes a while, and it's just me walking to the bottom of the room, teleporting back up, walking to the bottom again, waiting for duriel, teleporting away again, while the Hydras just slowly but surely kill him, very slowly. But victory is achieved as he goes down, and I decide that I should farm the counter some more, and I end up finding a 5-socket Mancatcher, which my Spirison would have loved, and I make an Obedience in it, which my Spirison would have loved. I also find an amulet, it's the Mahimo Curio, and I'm at the point where I'm in the 70s on level, and I'm like deciding, do I want a Mahim Oak, which is very telling about the quality of my gear. But I do decide to just push on into Act 3, where things get really dicey in the spider cavern. Like, any of those spiders hitting me could just kill me on the spot, which is not a great situation to be in. And I know what people are thinking, like, why are you not using energy shield? Do you see my mana? Do you see me constantly having to drink mana pots? If I use energy shield on this build, first off, it will disappear all the time. Second off, the second I go in there and get close, I will get hit, the energy shield will disappear, I will be out of mana, and I will be dead. There is a very specific set of things you need to accomplish before energy shield becomes good, and I'm just gonna address it now. While picking up this set amulet, is it Tails? No, it's Fidelis. I know I will get a ton of comments about it. So yeah, no energy shield, but making my way towards the git bin again. And here we have a lightning fire immune, which is not cool, so I just pick up the brain and Frost Nova while my mercenary does all of the hard work. So first roll down, second roll down, and then it's time for the Flayer jungle, where there is a fanaticism Flayer group in my way. I head towards Lower Kurast. And one little thing you can do, even in a casual playthrough, is if you go to Lower Kurast, that you open some chests, and it also works in the Arcane Sanctuary and in the sewers level 2. Just put the game on players 8 before you open the chest, like it gets you a bunch of free items, it's just completely free. And the one thing this build does very well is deal with dolls. You're used to being close, and you can also just spam Hydras across. So dolls are actually not a problem for this build. And then we have the perfect setup here, where the mercenary is just at the door keeping everything in the range of the Hydra. So slowly but surely I can mow everything down. Ismail Violhand showing up as well, and we go ahead and Nova him before heading towards the rest of the council. And this is just a matter of just kiting them out. Like, you cannot stand in there and expect to survive. Like, that's not a reasonable thing. However, you can just lure them out one by one and let the Obedience and the Hydras do the work. That's very solid. So here we have Gallop Flamefinger, who is fire and lightning enchanted. It makes him fire and lightning immune. He's also extra strong, so I need to be very careful here. Now the mercenary has such good gear. He has an Obedience and that's it, but that's just way better than what I'm wearing. And once again, just teleport back, let the Hydras do the talking. And an easy way to recognize which Hydras are yours and which are the councils. The ones that are shooting at you are not yours, those are the councils. And the ones that are shooting at the councils are yours. I know, it's complete rocket science, perfect explanation, super useful, I know, thank you. Anyway, final council member, Torque Ice Fist, and we're just gonna go ahead and Nova up to him. So teleporting around, and he dies, so we have cleared the council and make our way towards the Durance of Hate level 1. Where once again, you can easily deal with dolls with this build. So we go ahead and skip again. And for this hell fight, because he is actually pretty dangerous on this build and Nova doesn't really work on him, I decide to just mode trick him, so I walk up to static and keep the Hydras going and flowing. So the only reason I walk up is to go and check how much HP he has left. And I decided it's taking way too long for my patience, so I do end up just going up there. But it's very risky. You can't just take the time and let the Hydras do the talking. Because as you can tell, Nova is barely adding up. Like, it's doing something, but it's not like doing a lot. It's definitely the Hydras doing most of the work here. Then for Act 4, I go towards the Plains of Despair, where the souls are waiting for me once again. So I decide to try it, but decide against it when I get hit exactly once and almost die. And I just re-roll it until I get a spawn without souls, which allows me to just very easily take down Isual. And after that it's time for Hephasto the Armorer again, because he gives me loot and runes. And once again, as you can tell, it's mostly the Obedience doing damage, and Nova is really falling off hard at this point. And that's because one thing with lightning sources is that they need a very specific set of gear, and if you don't have that set of gear, like, they will drop down in power. Fire and ice sorcerers are much friendlier on the amount of gear required. So anyway, I end up getting a Lemrune, which means it's time to go shopping. Because I need two things. I need a 3-socket shield, because I have 3 perfect diamonds and those give more resist than a Rel or Tel. Because this gives 57 resist all and an Ancient Pledge gives 43 to 48. And I also need a 3-socket armor because I want to make a treachery for the mercenary. So I go ahead and shop a bunch. Definitely doesn't take a while, but I do end up getting it. So Shield, Thurl and Lem, which gets me a treachery for 45 increased attack speed, but mostly just for fade. So my mercenary now has a treachery and an obedience, and that is actually good enough to finish the game at this point. Like, I think my mercenary at this point is much stronger than I am. And it's really just a matter of gear. Like, I think the white shield that I'm using looks beautiful. I also think using 3 perfect diamonds in a shield is kind of sad in Hell Act 4. But well, we found nothing, so yeah. And that's the thing with this setup as well. Like, a Nova Source is a really bad boss farmer, and you're not really tanky as well before you get the really GG gear. So getting gear with this character was actually quite a challenge. Like, this was definitely the hardest source I've played through on the channel so far. By a lot, actually. I mean, the first Nova Source I did actually got stuck in Act 5. Like, I didn't get the job done on that one even. Anyway, for the Diablo fight, I'm basically looking for a setup where I can just Nova and static him while my mercenary is distracting him. So I'm teleporting away every time he lights a big fire, because my mercenary will evaporate from that. And I end up getting it here, so my mercenary just got to distract him long enough. And I don't know why that fire missed, but I'm very happy about it, because my mercenary going away is just annoying at this point. Like, I have the damage that I need, but he has the crushing blow, so he's dealing most of the damage. And after Diablo, I just push on towards the area it's summoned, where once again the ancients are waiting for me. And I do the same thing as I do every single time with the ancients. I go ahead and separate them. So Gorlick here, just getting Nova, Hydra and crushing blowed by the mercenary. Second in, we lure in Mad Dog, who actually manages to hit me a few times, but I have potions luckily, because he hit for like 500 and I have 1200 HP this time, so there is some leeway there, but it's definitely something to be careful about. And if I was using energy shield, like, my mana would be gone now and I would be in big trouble. So that's just a practical example of why I don't use it. So anyway, we're gonna bravely stand around the corner while the Hydra and the mercenaries do all of the talking. And I have to be really careful with Talik, because he is cursed. And I figured, okay, my mercenary has Fade, so he's gonna have Fade on and he won't be cursed very long. I think that's enough damage reduction as well to able to kill the ancients. And head towards the Worldstone Keep level 2, where the hills are alive with the sounds of souls once again. So I do this horrible teleporting through. And yeah, I was not happy about this area at all. There's like fanaticism, vipers, there's tons of souls. I end up actually missing my exit. That happens there, this happens here. Like, I get in danger here, I take a hit here, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm finally out. And I get towards the Throne of Destruction, where there's once again more souls. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with a few souls, it'll be fine. But then the dolls come in as well. And it's like, I don't want to deal with these both together. So I dodge this entrance on my second attempt and head for my third attempt. This happens, I almost die. And after that, I do make it towards a spawn where the Throne of Destruction is actually kind of okay safe-ish, and I make it towards the Minions of Destruction. And I'm just gonna be a sad panda here. The Minions of Destruction are not dying to a solo self-found sorceress on a Nova build. It's not happening. So I lure them out. Slowly but surely lure them out. And I'm basically using the static here to deal them damage like the cows. back in Nightmare all grouped together when I static because it was so much range. And I'm doing the same thing here, but on purpose to lure the minions out. I did end up missing 2, but I can bring those back to the back as well. And the Fade really showing how powerful it is here. It's just tanking. Mercenary not dying to the minions of destruction is a big game. So I almost got all of them out. And at this point I think I got it, and I go over and they walk back in, so I've got to do it again. But they're close to the edge, so I just wait a bit. And at this point you're just safe to go. So I head towards Baal, and yeah, this is going to be very original, and I've never talked about this before, I know, so I go ahead and static Baal, and I spam the Hydras because Nova barely deals any damage to him. And even with Nova and Hydra and static and Frost Nova, this is actually a pretty rough fight. Like, sources have a lot of trouble with Baal on solo self-found runs. He just drains so much mana with his spells. I mean, I don't know how many of you watching actually do the Baal fight regularly. Like, I know a lot of people like watch and play every once in a while, but Baal has an attack that just drains all your mana. It's like your character just flat out stops being functional when you're out of mana. It's one of the biggest things in the game. Like, mana burn is way too powerful in this game. Something is mana burn and it even sneezes in your general direction, all your mana's gone and your characters just stop. But the Hydras do manage to do damage as the mercenary goes down, and I end up having to run in the end. I do not want a repeat of my Boasaurs. I'm down to 1 hit, and so was he. So we spam the Hydras, and Baal goes down and drops all sort of cool stuff. So anyway, this is my gear. It's a spirit, it's a circlet, it's an amulet. All of this only has resist. The stealth has some faster cast rate. I have blood fists on. I have this 30 resist gold, I have this belt, this ring, and it's like, all of this gear is so trash. I found nothing in the regards of gear. So anyway, that's my build. This is the mercenary gear. He has some cool stuff, and I ended up on level 79 clearing the game. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.